What are the odds that the implication that we are making in the title and the thumbnail of this video actually comes true? Maybe it's like a 1 in 20 odds, but 1 in 20 odds still exists, you know? Like, 1 in 20, if that was a casino game, it wouldn't be the most impossible thing in the world. Somebody still might be willing to bet on that. So, because of the fact that this is a conversation that happened, I wanted to make a stupid video talking about the Pittsburgh Penguins and Sidney Crosby potentially not coming back. So yeah, this has happened a bunch over the past few months, and it will continue to happen up until Sid the Kid signs a contract extension with the Pens. Now I will say, I'm recording this audio on the night of Friday, July 5th. So, if by the time this is public on YouTube on the morning of July 6th, and if Sidney Crosby has signed a contract extension between the time I'm talking into this microphone and the time the video is public, then hey, this will go down as the biggest clowning video on my channel. Even more than the Duncan Keith Edmonton Oilers rejected trade video that was pre-scheduled to being public after the real-life Duncan Keith trade to Edmonton happened. But when it comes to Sid the Kid, the biggest, most alarming piece of information that we had about him and his situation was the fact that on July 1st, a few days ago, he didn't sign a contract extension right away with Pittsburgh. Now, that in itself is not the end of the world. We see star players all the time drag out their extension processes. Sometimes they go into training camp, sometimes they get done during the season, but for Sidney Crosby, there was already enough discussion going out there on social media, enough conversations about whether or not he'd leave Pittsburgh, go over to a team like Tampa or Montreal or Colorado or whatever. We've had those discussions on this YouTube channel. You can go out there and search it on the videos. But we always sort of said, hey, by the time July 1st hits, he'll probably sign an extension, he'll probably be off the market, and all these videos that we're making about the Canadiens and the Avalanche may not actually be worth thinking about anymore. But now, we have ourselves a radio hit done by Sidney Crosby's agent, Pat Brisson, who goes out there on 98.5 FM radio to talk with Martin McGuire about his client, Sid the Kid. We're going on to this article on Heavy.com, Penguin Sidney Crosby extension in limbo. It has to make sense, because this piece from Antonio Losada goes out there and transcribes the comments made by Sidney Crosby's agent. According to Pat Brisson, speaking to the Montreal Canadiens play-by-play announcer on 98.5 FM Martin McGuire on June 28th, Sidney Crosby's future in Pittsburgh is not set in stone. Crosby is a very loyal person, Brisson said, but it has to make sense for him. Brisson said that Crosby would like the chance to win again, and he believes the Penguins may not have what it takes to allow Crosby to win another Stanley Cup. The outlet also reports that at the time of writing, there have been no discussions regarding a new contract being offered to Crosby, although the reports notes that this could happen in July. Now pause before we dive into what other comments are made here in this article. Is that not a little bit concerning? Again, it says the thing could be done in July, and it just started being July a few days ago, so we have time as hockey fans to wait and see what the Sidney Crosby contract situation ends up looking like. But learning from the agent that, hey, Sid the Kid probably wants to go out there and win, but also I don't know if this team has the chance to do that. Does that not kind of kick into gear Kyle Dubas and his spidey sense? Does it not signal some sort of a directional change that needs to be done here in order for the Pittsburgh Penguins to instill that confidence in Crosby and his agent that, hey, they still may be able to do this, they still may be able to get things done and win another championship? Carlson, Crosby, Malkin, Bunting, you've got a lot of guys here that should be capable of pushing your team forward into playoff rounds, but who knows if that's really possible. Of course, though, when it comes to Sidney Crosby, I'd be willing to bet money. You know, I'm not a betting man, but I'd be willing to bet that the odds probably do lie more so in Crosby staying with the Penguins, and comments like these made by the agent on 98.5 FM Sports Radio are more so just agents doing agent stuff. Not going out there and revealing all their cards and not directly saying, yeah, Crosby will sign, it's just a matter of when. But instead, it's like, hey, we gotta see if we can maximize our dollars here. If Sidney Crosby does not want to go $8.7 million a season again, which he definitely could go much over because it's been so long of him getting that dollar amount, we need to make things a little bit spicy. We need to make things dangerous. We need to make the Pittsburgh Penguins think that we are not fully committed to coming back. Even though Crosby is a loyal guy, even though Crosby probably would want to re-sign in Pittsburgh, the fact is he also wants to win. And if we can sort of get the Pittsburgh Penguins back into gear, thinking that they're not guaranteed to being able to get this guy's services, thus needing to either give him more money or improve their roster as a whole, then it's a win for everybody involved, right? The Penguins get better, and they give Crosby more money. The fans are happy because Pittsburgh is keeping their captain, and probably one of the best, if not the best captains of the 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. I mean, it's a big win-win-win situation if Crosby comes back to Pittsburgh. However, let's go out there and talk about some of the other things that are listed in this article here. It then goes out there to some comments made by Josh Yohei of The Athletic, how Kyle Dubas was reticent to discuss the status of the Crosby negotiations during the post-draft round 1 interviews, saying that the talks would remain private between the player, his agent, and the organization. "You hit the nail on the head," Dubas said. "It will stay that way. It's a private matter with Sid, Pat, myself, and our ownership, and we'll keep it that way. I'm not going to comment." However, Josh Yohei did also report a few statements from Dubas regarding the importance of re-signing Crosby at some point in the near future. "Sid is an ultra-competitive guy and he wants the team to be a contender," Dubas said. "As long as you have someone like Sid on the team and the players that we have, the process that we have to follow as urgently as possible is to acquire younger, hungrier players that can help get us back to that time. The real goal is to try and take where we're at and that era that the team has been through and be able to hand over that to the next era, but we have to build that era up. It started last year, it goes to the trade deadline. It wasn't a popular decision to trade Jake Guentzel, but it was something that we felt we had to do." So at the end of the day, the Pittsburgh Penguins are acknowledging that, hey, a lot of these superstars that they have are old, so not only is it about keeping together a competitive environment for these players, but it's also being able to transition that competition and competitive nature into the younger guys as they inevitably become the quote-unquote leaders of the Penguins. Now, to end things off in this video, there are some extra comments made by Josh Yohei on the idea of a Crosby extension. I doubt the specifics have been negotiated, but I do think both sides have a good understanding of what the numbers will ultimately be. Crosby is going to receive whatever it is he wants. Dubas, I promise you, is not going to play hardball with him. Crosby might take more than $8.7 million, and that's his right if he requests it. He's always outplayed his contract, but I also think the Penguins realize that Crosby isn't going to make outrageous demands. There's no detectable stress from either side of the situation, so far as I can tell. So at the end of the day, even though Pat Brisson went onto the radio and said that Crosby wants to win, and we don't know if Sidney can actually do that in Pittsburgh anymore, there doesn't seem to be reason to panic. Sure, one comment from an agent might spark a video on YouTube, like this one, but that's kind of what I do, right? We take things that are said and we run with it, and I get it, there will be people pissed off in the comment section, "Oh, Lego, how could you make a video about this? You're clickbaiting us again." I mean, it's kind of my job to do that. I'm not going to say that I don't do that. I'm just saying that, hey, this is the market, and sometimes people don't like that, which is totally okay. You're free to not watch the videos because at the end of the day, YouTube is as much about what you want to watch than it is what I want to create as a content creator. So at the end of the day, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Firstly, about the Sidney Crosby negotiations. If there is a signing by the time this video is public on YouTube, I swear to goodness gracious, that will be the worst timing of videos on this channel's history, even more than that Duncan Keith thing that we had talked about. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as to Sidney Crosby and the negotiations. What are your thoughts about that? And what do you think the dollar amount is going to be for Crosby should he stay in Pittsburgh? I think everybody is more so believing that he will stay. I don't think anybody's adamant in believing full-heartedly that he's going to leave for Colorado to play with McKinnon or whatever. But Crosby and the Pens, what is the dollar amount, and what is your sort of danger awareness scale at right now when it comes to the idea of him leaving? Do you think it's more so determined by the projectability of Pittsburgh's roster and being able to win over the next few years? Or is it just a general vibe that says, hey, he wants to go to play with his buddy, or he wants to go home, he wants to play for Montreal? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.